Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This channel is called How to Drum and Bass, and it's called that way because in this channel we break down what top producers are doing right now in songs that are hot right now, and we take those songs and we break things down from them. Sometimes as just, taking a lead or a sound, and sometimes, like today, we will take a full drop and not only recreate a drop, but also look at the small, idiosyncrasies and hidden production techniques that make something good rather than just a collection of some things that sound okay together. So I'm on a Mozey vibe lately. I have been really digging his sets. I go there almost every single time he's on a lineup on a festival that I'm near. And it's actually funny because I, as a producer, like really complicated music. As you may have noticed from this channel, I'm very much into sound design and into like really cool, thick, sort of like complicated stuff because, I don't know, it makes me feel smart. But what's really special about Mozey is that he makes what I can only call certified bangers that actually are, and this is no offense to Mozey too, like a little bit boring in the sense that it's not that complicated. The sound design is, it's okay, it's out there. Obviously he's a good producer, that's absolutely not what I'm saying. But what he does really well is he makes tunes that go really hard on the dance floor, that are catchy, but that actually the elements themselves aren't that simple. It's the way that they're put together and just some smart things in between that make it really, really good. And that is interesting to look at. So what we're gonna do today in this video is we're gonna look at this song called Party Muscle, which if you've been to any rave in the last, let's say 2 years or something, you've definitely heard this in a lot of sets. It's being double dropped a lot. The original sounds like this. So as you can see, it's kind of something to be a little bit silly to. This part doesn't really classify as drum and bass. This is more like sort of like a gabber style thing. Afterwards, I think after maybe the 16 bars of this, it drops into drum and bass. That is going to be part 2 of this video, which is coming out very soon. Right now, we're going to look at this drums with the donk and this sort of like very ravey 90s synth. And so we've made a full reproduction of that, which sounds like this. Which I would say is pretty close. I'm pretty proud of that. And let's just go through all the layers really quickly, because it sounds very simple, but there's a few things going on that are interesting. So first of all, we have this, what I've called the party synth. All right, and you can hear that it's ducking for the side chaining, but you just ignore that for a second. Then what we have is we have an underlying sort of pad that's made out of the reverb of that party synth. And this is really interesting because it gives a little bit of extra texture to something that is otherwise really empty, right? We've really only got a drum, a donk, and one synth, and okay, like a sub bass, but that's basically it. And that sounds like this. It's very washed out. And it just kind of fills up this space between here. Well, then we've got a pluck, which consists of 2 layers. I mean, like just a mid-bass pluck that you hear in pretty much every dance floor song ever. A sub for that. We've got this little noise sweep at the beginning, which is also ducking for the side chain, so ignore that. And then we've got some drums that are actually also pretty interesting, which consists of 3 layers actually. A kick that is made completely from scratch. Then a kick transient that's made out of a hi-hat. And then a little bit of kick noise to layer on top of it, which together sounds like this. And then in this case, we don't have a snare because that's caught off by that donk, is the kick and the donk. So those are the layers of this whole recreation. What we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna look at this party synth, so that's this one. And if you want, as always, you can download the free preset of that exact thing and also the Ableton rack and the MIDI in the link below for free. However, if you also want to know all about these other elements in here that make up the rest of the drop, that will be available in the School of Drum and Bass, where there's a full tutorial, like an hour-long tutorial on this breakdown and the reasoning behind it and why you would do certain things, why that kick is layered in 3 different layers, why we're adding some noise, how to do that washed out reverb fill. If you want to know all of that, then check out this video first. And if you want to know more, then you can go to the School of Drum and Bass, which I'll tell you a little something about right now. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but if you're watching this video, then my guess is that you're trying to become better at producing professional sounding drum and bass. And if you are taking that seriously, then you may want to hear about the School of Drum and Bass. The School of Drum and Bass is my passion project, and it's a membership that contains over 300 videos about music production in general, but also specifically about how to produce drum and bass. And there's just so much content in there. It doesn't matter whether you are a total beginner or if you've been producing for several years, because we go over everything everything. We cover very basic things like how to use Ableton and all the way to, you know, what drum and bass actually is and how layering works and what the common drum patterns are and all those fundamentals. We have hours and hours of in-depth Serum tutorials aimed at making you a master of the synth and finally being able to translate the sounds that you hear in your head to something that sounds awesome in your synthesizer so that you can create any drum and bass sound that you want. Plus also the theory behind how that works. We also include professional mixing and mastering classes, for example, like sessions where we take an unmastered and an unmixed song and walk you through step by step how to make that sound professional, how to get that industry grade loudness and clarity. And one of the best things is we also have an entire section of complete drop breakdowns where we walk you through a recreation of a full drop of a popular song, and there's many of them in there where we go step by step, all the layers, making everything from scratch, how to recreate songs that you love. Also, very soon we're even going to be adding complete start to finish song courses where we literally walk you from the very beginning to the very end into making a complete song step by step, taking you through how to make everything, make the drums, make all the layers, everything from scratch, and teaching you so many things you would have never found on YouTube. Actually add new videos every single week. Things like in-depth tutorials on super creative sound design, arrangement exercises, breaking down like the secrets of hot artists right now and what we can learn from them and what we can take away. Honestly, the School of Drum and Bass right now is probably the biggest, but definitely the most comprehensive drum and bass production learning resource out there on the internet today. And the best part is that right now we have a super special deal. The first 7 days you can join for just £1 British pound. So if that sounds like you and you may want to check that out, then go to the link in the description down here or simply go to howtodrumandbass.com and make today the first day of your journey towards becoming a professional drum and bass producer. All right, now without further ado, let's move on with the rest of this video. All right, so without further ado, let's go and recreate this party synth here. So I'm going to start out with the same notes and a fresh instance of Serum. The notes are right here. They're very simple, as you can see. You can also just download them for free in the link below to the free presets. And actually, this sound itself is pretty simple. It's just that we're going to do a bunch of layering to make it more interesting. So basically, what we're working with here is 2 saw waves, and one of them is going to be just at 0 octave, and one of them is actually going to be up by 3 semitones. So that's going to make sort of like a small minor chord. So this already sounds a lot like what we want, actually. And what I want to do immediately is I want to have a filter here that hits everything, just because I think I want to be controlling those highs a little bit later. So now we're just going to put it somewhere here. And then also let's add a little bit of noise here, maybe. Now, what we also probably want to do, if we want to have a little bit more control later, is put some LFOs on the levels of all of that, so that can act as an envelope almost. And, you know, I think for now we can put it something like that. And this is already basically most of the sound. And now we're going to be adding some effects that are going to make it wider, that are going to make it more present, and that are going to give it a little bit of extra body so that it can carry the weight of, you know, this entire drop, because it's the only real melodic thing that's happening in the drop. So we're going to start by adding a little bit of width with some hyper. We don't want to overdo this because otherwise it's going to get really like glazy. You know, it's going to have a lot of that stuff on top, which we don't like. But a little bit of that, and a little bit of dimension to give it some sort of slapback delay kind of. We can choose to add some distortion on there. I'm just gonna pick a random one. But I do think if we turn that mix down a little bit, that's actually quite nice. That's something I've been doing a lot recently, is just adding distortions that are quite ugly if they were at 100% mix, but just dialing it back, all in an effort sort of to add a little bit of an extra layer to fill up a little bit more of that frequency spectrum without changing the sound too much and overdriving it too much, if that makes sense. All right, then after that, let's see what frequencies we want to accentuate. So we're just gonna make a bell curve here, gonna up that gain, gonna bring that Q down a little bit. And usually, you know, the juicy stuff is either around the 1K area, around the 2K area, or around maybe like 5 to 7K-ish. And I don't think it needs to be quite that loud, so we can turn that down a bit, but I think for now I like that. What I am gonna do, however, after that is I'm just gonna introduce another small filter so we can take those really harsh highs away. I think that sounds a little bit better, otherwise you get that sort of noisiness on top. Let's also add a OTT here. We can just pick the preset. And I get the feeling sometimes that OTT just kind of tempers the sound a little bit, which in this case is quite nice. Let's turn back up that gain though. And now we can hear that we're getting quite a bit of low end that I don't really want. So what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to add another filter down here because we're going to be adding a sub bass later anyway on this kind of sound. Filter, probably a high 24 maybe. All right, beautiful. All right, so now a few optionals. What I like to do sometimes if I want to add a little bit of sort of ringiness to something is I'll add a delay here where I'll put this sort of down on 1/16 maybe, put the feedback down a bit, and then just take, you know, if we put the mix all the way up, we can kind of hear what we're getting. I think that could be sort of nice, and then we just dial back that mix a bit. Just give it a slightly bit more of a tail. And we got to mess around a little bit with the reverb here. I'm going to see what happens if we add a reverb in here, but I'm probably going to add a reverb after as well, or maybe even combine the two. So I'm going to switch that to Hall because I wanted to control for the decay. I don't want the decay to be that long. So for now, I think that sounds nice, but let's see. All right, I'm gonna move this filter all the way down because I want to make sure that everything that we do or might do later is not going to go after this filter. All right, and then what we're gonna do is go into post-processing. So the first thing that I am going to do, which to be honest, I could have probably also done in Serum, is add a limiter to catch a couple of those peaks. And then, you know, I'm going to add what I think is a nice reverb. Another cool thing to do here might be to use convolution reverb and just find like a cool timbre of an impulse response that you like. But for now, we can just keep it simple. And so, yeah, we can keep that decay relatively short and just play with that mix a little bit. Cool, and then another thing we can do sort of to make it already ready for mixing is after that add a clipper, or maybe do that before the reverb actually. And it's just gonna make it a little bit noisier. And so since we're introducing some extra saturation, maybe I actually want to add another filter, roll off a bit of those tops here again. Maybe even actually like this. Another thing that I probably want to do is add an extra slap delay. We already did a little bit of that with the dimension and that other delay that we have in there. But Ableton has a standard preset that is called slide slap, which I really like. And it just gives it a little bit of an echo. So that gives a little bit of extra sort of, you know, reverberating body back to it. And then let's see in this one, maybe we want something around that 2K area still to come up a bit. Just got to find the right frequencies there to accentuate. And we can also see that actually for some reason, probably because of this clipper that's adding some distortion, we have some lows again, so we high pass those again. Now what I want to do as well in this K clip, I want to overdrive it a little bit, so probably by 6 decibels. But I'm going to use this soften button, which basically means that instead of a hard clip, it's going to do a much softer clipping. And yeah, maybe we take this off actually. And then so finally I can go back in and, you know, dial some things in. For example, since this is, you know, playing essentially different notes, I can say if I want more of one or the other's level. So if we listen to the original. I would say that that sounds pretty damn much like it. And so yeah, like you just heard, within the context of everything else, if we listen to the original here, and then we have you know, everything together, so our recreation and all the other layers. I think that sounds pretty damn cool. So yeah, that was this sound. If you're interested in all the rest, please do go and check out the School Drum Bass. We have over 300 videos all about professional drum bass production. And also, if you learned anything or if you like my style of teaching and you want to support me, please subscribe to this video. It really helps the algorithm push out more stuff and for me to make more things to you. And also, put in the comments what you want me to make. I am taking requests. Nothing is too crazy. And yeah, maybe I'll make what you want to see tomorrow, because we're pumping out videos pretty much every single day right now. So yeah, I hope to see you in the next one.